welcome to our Marketo User Group. It has been a little while. I kind of have these periods of time where we have a break and we don't have a break in our Marketo User Group. And we'll do a whole bunch of them and then take a little bit of time off. And so we're just coming back into the user group again. My name is Michael Tucker. We'll go into an introduction in a moment and kind of give you a little bit of background on our presenters today, and a little bit about what this user group session is all about and what user groups in general are about, and why it's worthwhile to be attending user groups if you are active practitioner inside of Marketo Engage marketing automation software. But today, especially kind of where we are at this point in time where people are starting to come back to in-person and hybrid events, I thought it'd be worthwhile to be able to talk a little bit about how you approach some of these events as a marketer, right? At the end of the day, it's nice to be able to get on a plane and to fly to all these interesting places and to meet people in all sorts of different ways and shapes and forms, and exchange ideas in a face-to-face environment. But at the end of the day, we also need to be able to show some productivity from that and some results. And booking meetings, both for demo purposes, for field marketing purposes, to be able to actually convey the value that you're providing to in your business, and also to be able to learn, if you're a user, from some of the different experts that are at some of these events, is really crucial. And so a really up and coming integration application service that works really well with Marketo and works really well for people that are doing bookings is a software called Chili Piper. We're very lucky to have them today to come in and speak and be able to share a little bit about their app, how it works with Marketo. And then we're going to go in and I'm going to do just a bit of a case study talking about how you might use the app with Marketo in order to be able to tie some of the benefits of Chili Piper with some of the data management and marketing automation workflows that you'll see inside of a Marketo event program. So with that, first off, I'm going to start off by giving just a little bit of an introduction to us. So my name is Michael Tucker. I am the founder of a company called Conversion Store. We are a Adobe certified partner, and we help different marketers with their marketing automation in Marketo Engage. So if that is administering your Marketo platform, if that is helping to integrate Marketo with a great tool like Chili Piper, or that's implementing a brand new Marketo instance, maybe you're trying to move from one of the other platforms, HubSpot, and you want to move to Marketo, then we can help you to be able to migrate all of that information over and make the use out of, in our opinion, the best marketing automation platform out there. I've been a 3-time Marketo certified expert. Last year was in the champion program. And have had a chance to meet and learn from a lot of different people across the user group community and the user base as a whole. So happy to be running this. I would say that one of the longer tenured user group leaders, been doing this since 2017 when the Conversion Store started. But I've been in Marketo for a couple of years prior to that and have worked in a sales career prior to that too. Have seen the benefits behind bookings and trying to run in-person events and being able to make quota with sales, which is why I'm glad that we have a platform like Chili Piper to talk about today. And Gaines, I know you have an introduction as well too, but our speaker today is Gaines Murphy, who's a senior manager for customer onboarding at Chili Piper. And I think it's probably best for you to give a bit of an introduction to yourself as well too, and a little bit about some of your background. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to do that at the beginning of your slides?
We can do it at the beginning of the slides. That's fine by me.
All right, sounds good. Okay, and so a couple of things. I mean, what are we doing here with this user group? So one of the things that we build into our mission at Conversion Store, and this also translates into the values in our user group, is that all businesses deserve great marketing. And that's part of the reason why we do these events. There's no charge to attend a user group event. And, you know, again, having been in the champion program, one of the neat things was that we got a lot of experience with Adobe product team and a lot of the insights into what's happening with the Marketo product as a whole. One of the not so great things was that it was really only available to those 40 or 50 people that were in the program. And there was less of an incentive to be able to actually help get that information out to the user base. So I am a big fan, more so of the user group format and of helping you to be able to get the best experience and the best use out of your Marketo platform. And I think that that comes not from having 40 or 50, people that are put up on a pedestal, but from all of us collaborating together. And that goes to that point about, you should be the real hero in your company as a marketing director, and that one of us is not smarter than all of us. So even though I have this champion status and all of these different certifications, and some of you do too, we all have questions. There is always something new to learn. And the person that says that there isn't anything new to learn is not the person you want to be able to trust with your digital marketing, because frankly, the audiences that we talk to are changing. So that's the impetus for Conversion Store. And then also with our user group values, we want to translate that to being a safe space. So there's no such thing as a dumb question. Ask any questions that you want. That's how we learn. No matter how much experience you have, you probably have not used everything in Marketo. I guarantee you that I haven't. And I don't think that anybody, I've never met anybody who has and has been able to hold that position for any long period of time. So this is collaborative. This is not a webinar. If you want to jump in and ask questions, you can. If you have areas where you can provide insight to some of these areas that we're talking about, do it. And we encourage you to be to enjoy yourself and have a good time, and then learn from each other as well too. But we also want these to be professional value added pieces as well too. So you will learn something in this process, if not from Gaines and I, from each other and from the conversation that's here. And that's my sincere hope for you. And that's part of the reason why we have this group. Couple of upcoming events that we have as well too. So in addition to running a user group, over the years have built out a number of different properties that help us as a group to be able to democratize our learning. So the Marketo User Group YouTube channel, I started that several years before the pandemic, and now all of the user group leaders and the champion class contribute videos to that. So there's one spot. If you go to conversionstore.com/video, it will take you directly to that YouTube channel, and you can see over, I think there's about 120 hours of content on there, maybe a little less, and over 750 subscribers to it. We hope you'll join on that by, and if you're watching this on YouTube, click the like button and the bell icon in order to be able to get notifications as more and more user group leaders put up content. We just had some content today from the San Francisco mug that came up around intent data and how to incorporate that into your Marketo instance. Above and beyond that, we've created a website recently called marketominutes.com. And so 3 different areas that you can participate in. We have these Marketo learning lounges that are kind of like these sessions. They happen once a month though, and they're 1-hour meetings, and they're basically spots where you can go into breakout rooms and be able to get to meet a small number of other people. And instead of listening to 1 or 2 of us talk, you get to actually engage and interact with people in real time and learn all about Marketo from that side of things with each other. So it's kind of like having just breakout rooms, basically. Marketo Minutes are 10 to 15-minute video recordings that we do, and they're on Marketo features, but more importantly, they're about some of the things that you want to get done as a marketer, like being able to incorporate your social media advertising into your Marketo instance through AdBridge and topics like that. So they're designed to be quick little snippets. If you don't have an hour to spend, jump into one of those for 10 or 15 minutes. And finally, our LinkedIn group, and that's where we host our Marketo user group audience. There's I think there's about 160, 170 users so far in that one, and that is growing constantly. And those are people that are fellow users that are on LinkedIn, and we're exchanging posts and ideas and all sorts of different experiences. So we encourage you to go to that. There are links to all of those inside of marketominutes.com. So you're welcome to go to the website, and there should be 3 CTA buttons there that take you to each of those properties. All right, and now I'd like to introduce Gaines Murphy to talk about our feature presentation about using Marketo and Chili Piper for in-person and hybrid events. We'll turn it over to Gaines first, and then we'll come back afterwards, and I'll do the case study about how you might use this implementation. So without further ado and a subtle round of applause, I'm going to turn it over to you, Gaines. So.
All right, thank you, Michael. I actually built all my stuff based off of the Digital Summit stuff as well, just kind of making sure. So Michael was showing me what he had, some of the unique stuff he did as far as geolocation targeting, which is pretty cool. So Michael, your piece will flow nicely into what I'm going to talk about here. It may have made more sense if your piece was talking about Digital Summit, but just know we're, as we were talking about with Anthony, we're kind of just basing this off. We picked an event and based it off of it. So I will go ahead and share, and then we will bring it back into what we were talking about with Michael. So, all right. So quick agenda here. Setting goals for an event. I was actually finding it pretty interesting before this call. I was going through like our Salesforce account and our different accounts to find like all the different stuff we've done for events. And the most recent Dreamforce I could find was 2019. And I was kind of sad because like we go to Dreamforce every year, and luckily it's coming back this year, and we can go to that. And again, like we were saying, the Marketo Summit. And I think we're starting to see more and more in-person events, but this also works for virtual as well. But things you can do before an event, things you can do during an event, and things you can do after an event to really kind of change up the way you look at events and the way you kind of drive metrics to that. So I'll also touch on Chili Piper just in general, in case you guys aren't familiar with it. But from there, I'll give you guys just a general breakdown. All right, a little bit about me. The only two companies I've worked at outside of college was Marketo and Chili Piper. So I started my career off at Marketo in Atlanta in 2015. And then I eventually became a customer success manager. Once the Vista acquisition happened in 2017, that's when I switched over to Chili Piper, and I've done a couple of things there. It's actually my 5-year anniversary as of, I guess, 2 days ago. And this is actually my first day back from work from paternity leave. My wife just gave birth to a baby boy, our first one. He's about 2 weeks old now. So this is, I think, my second meeting since I've been back in action from being off. So yeah, it's been fun. It's a new adventure for me, having a child. So anywho, all right, goals for your event. Again, I'll touch on the Chili Piper Marketo piece a little bit more in a second, but since we're talking about events here today, let's just talk about generally about goals. Obviously, events aren't cheap. Having to buy a booth, having to buy a premier booth, it can get pretty pricey. So of course, if you're investing in events as we kind of move into 2022 on the latter half and 2023 and beyond, and we assume that we start getting events kicked back up. I think you guys are probably pretty familiar with your general goals, number of badge cans, how many business cards I collect, maybe tie that back to a Salesforce campaign or Marketo campaign to be able to track ROI. But one of the ones that Chili Piper, since we're obviously a tool around scheduling, is number of meetings booked. We have a lot of clients who do this, and we're a pretty good example of people who do this, but we kind of think of it in 3 separate cohorts, if you will. One is meeting books before an event. So, hey, I have a customer, I have some prospects coming, we're targeting them. Michael's going to talk about this in a little bit, but I want to book meetings ahead of them event. But then also, just instead of just badge cans, also scheduling meetings for those high intent prospects who you want to get in the sales reps' hands, and you don't trust that they're going to follow up on their act nows and their, Marketo interesting moments that you said that this is a high quality prospect. If you can go ahead and just get a meeting booked with the sales rep, that's probably easier on the sales rep and the prospect. And then meetings booked after an event. And this all kind of plays with Marketo and how you can tie them all together to, generate meetings, not just new leads when you're at an event. All right, so this is pretty interesting. I thought I'd just share this. So a lot of times it's like people focus on badge scans, but this person did a cool little research on how many leads they're generating basically prior to an event. And so as you would think, you're going to get those badge scans and everything at the event. A lot of that lead gen actually comes before the event. And I think that makes sense too. If like I'm going to Dreamforce, for example, if I'm going to the Marketo Summit, I guess Adobe Summit these days, I'm going to, do some research. Who do I want to go talk to? Which companies am I interested in? So people are doing that research and interested in stuff prior to those events, and they're trying to get their agenda and their schedule ready. So being able to do activities and promote that your brand is going to be there is obviously important and can really generate good leads for your business so that you guys can focus on them even before the event and then find them at the event. So when it comes to Chili Piper and Marketo, there's a couple ways to do this. I built a couple of demos for you guys. If I start getting a little technical with things, y'all tell me, because I'm known for getting too into the weeds, but I assume with the Marketo User Group, you guys are pretty technical and know your stuff. But it uses a combination of the Marketo person tokens or a landing page with JavaScript to go back. Let's see if I can get back here. So for example, I can create a meeting and set times, and I built all this and I can show you guys, but it's basically, I said, okay, well, this event is December 7th and 8th. So what I'm going to do is create a meeting that says, okay, well, these are the only 2 dates I can have it. I'm going to have these 2 reps go to this event. And then I'm going to send out an email communication, or what Michael's going to show with his bit about some geo-targeting, to a landing page to allow clients to basically go ahead and book a meeting with you, or either their customer or prospect ahead of that meeting. So 2 ways to do this. 1, you can obviously create a landing page. 2, you can do a direct Chili Piper link. And so let me swap my screen over to my landing page, because this is a little bit more of the main type of use case people buy Chili Piper for. Events is definitely something people use it for. It's generally not the core reason people will buy Chili Piper. If you don't know what Chili Piper does, we integrate with forms and allow people to book meetings after they fill out your Marketo form using the Forms 2.0 JavaScript with the onSuccess method. So we let it submit to Marketo, and then Chili Piper grabs the data from that web form, checks Salesforce, and routes it based off of this country or title or company size or anything like that. So for example, I built this landing page. Obviously it's fake, but once I fill this out, what you'll see is it seems pretty simple from the prospect's point of view. And it is, or actually use my Gmail to make this work how I wanted it to. So from the prospect's point of view, you fill out the form, and then what's going to happen is that you're going to submit to Marketo or whatever form tool you're using, and then a calendar is going to appear saying, okay, well, here's the time. So again, Digital Summit for Dallas is set December 8th, 7th, and 8th. It's probably, you wouldn't do it this early, but now I'm seeing the times that I've pre-configured to have a meeting at the booth. And so once I go ahead and I'll just book, let's just say 1 o'clock on the 8th. So now I booked a meeting with Nathan. And so from a prospect experience, pretty simple. Doesn't seem like there's a lot going on, but in reality, there was a lot going on. And what I mean by that is the routing capabilities and the way that we were able to not just randomly pick somebody to book with, but we checked to see that the account owner for that existing contact in Salesforce was Nathan. And so therefore we already booked with Nathan, since he's already got an existing opportunity going with that prospect. What you can see here is we have this concept of a meeting type, which I created here for Digital Summit Dallas, and say, hey, let's meet with Gaines from Chili Piper. I'm missing a space there. We'll see you at the booth. We're at booth 20. Let me know if you have any problems finding me. You can text me, call me. I can set up pre-meeting reminders to make sure they know where to go. But then also what's interesting here is I've set a custom schedule to say, okay, well, here's the dates of the event. Here's the date and times. And so once I have the meeting type that shows those times that I just booked for, I put that in what we call a queue. A queue, think of it like a group of users. And you can see we actually do this. We've done this for a lot of different events over the years. In 2019, because we haven't had a lot of events recently. But what I have in this router, which I'm going to get to in a second, is basically I had a queue that basically said, hey, if Jen, who's on the call with us, or if Nathan is the account owner for this record that comes in, then we're going to book with Nathan and not do a round robin. Whereas if it's not owned, then I'm going to book with a round robin between Jen and Nathan. But then also I said, if it's a customer, if I can see in Salesforce the account type is a customer, then I'm going to go to the person who's supposed to meet with customers, who I designated as myself. You can kind of see in here that Nathan was that account owner. And then you can see it booked with him. And then if I look under the record now for my contact, what I've configured to have happen is once it comes into Salesforce, it's going to create an event activity, but then it's also going to add me to the campaign in Salesforce Digital Summit Dallas 22, tag the status booked, in which case you've sent out a communication. I clicked on the link and filled out a form, clicked one more click to book a meeting. Everything flew in, or kind of flowed through Marketo and Salesforce. And then you can see that I have this meeting scheduled here as an event activity to track it. So now that I can meet with Nathan ahead of my event, Of course, I have the campaign in here that you can adjust the statuses on based off what happens. So I guess what we call it an inbound router is where this all kind of comes together. It's meeting types, queues, and then I can have these different things because, of course, I want to meet at the event. The times are going to be different for after the event. But for example, you can see here that I have a queue here. It's got a priority here that says if it's already owned by one of my AEs who's going to be attending the event, just go ahead and book it with that person if that person's the existing lead or account owner. Otherwise, if it's a customer, schedule it with Gains because Gains is the customer resource. And that if it's not a customer and it's not owned previously, we're going to round robin between the two reps. So what that does is then supplies a little snippet of JavaScript code, copy that, drop it onto our page with our Marketo form HTML, and then that's about it. There's a little bit more you have to do as far as some form mapping to make sure we're receiving the data values from the form. If you've ever used Pardot, kind of like mapping a Pardot form handler from a HTML form. But yeah, that's generally it. That's from a how does this work perspective, that's the high level of it. But now we bring it back into the events. Again, I can also just do a direct link here, which in this case, if I do the same thing, if I can put the Marketo merge field tag to basically do, it's like, you guys probably know, it's like lead.email address. And then once it sends out of the Marketo database, it'll tokenize this and then render it with, depending on who it's sending the email to. So then basically I run this and it doesn't make you fill a form. It already knows who you are, looks you up in Salesforce, and then it's going to determine based off those rules we set up in here, okay, well, whose calendar do I show for this event? And again, I'm still owned by Nathan. So it's showing me Nathan's calendar again for me to book a meeting. Of course, you can block people from booking multiple meetings, as I've joked with my friends and booked some fake meetings on their calendars before. But anyways, I think you guys get the idea. Again, if you want to make it more branded to your brand, you can make it load up on your landing page, similar to what I did in that first example. But this would be like if you just want to keep one click on the CTA, second click on the time slot. You can see since I've passed the ID through, then I can just do a one-click booking experience. Actually, I configured it so I could fill out my form. Because for an event, I may want to add my coworker, I don't know, Scott at Chili Piper, because he's going to be there attending the event with me. 144. So then I can confirm that meeting is booked the same way. So again, two different ways to do it, both using Marketo, just two different methods in which you would achieve that. And I think while we're thinking about this for events, your primary demo or contact us forms, your hand raiser forms on your website, that's a lot of times where people is primarily going to put Chili Piper, but then as people kind of evolve, they're like, wait, we could be doing this for events too. We're spending all this money on Dreamforce or Marketo Summit. I want to make sure my sales teams gets their leads and not only gets badge scans, but they get scheduled meetings as well. So a little bit long on that first slide. I hope I didn't bore you guys too much, but that's generally for sending out these email templates. Michael and I talked about another piece too. It's like, if you're not going to send your whole sales team to every event, you're going to send a subset of those. But if you can determine that, hey, I have 15 or 20 leads who I'm already the owner for, you can use something like SalesLoft and Chili Piper together, or Outreach or whatever automation tool you're using for your sales team to do the same type of stuff. So we find a combination of both those blast emails from Marketo, also with that more tailored one-to-one email from your sales reps can be a good use case as well, to really get that conversion for your events. You guys can't hear a baby crying in the other room. I apologize about that. But from a data flow diagram point of view, I have one that's a little bit more in depth, but of course you have this form, your Marketo form goes into Marketo, Marketo goes into Salesforce. I would imagine most of you guys use Salesforce here. We do have some customers using Dynamics and a few other CRMs. But yeah, when that form submit, it goes directly to Marketo, then goes to Chili Piper, allows a meeting to be booked. Those flow into Salesforce. Both of them get added to a campaign. We've configured Chili Piper to say, hey, if we book a meeting with this, then we're going to add them as member status booked to the Digital Summit Dallas 22 campaign. So I've created all this, and you guys saw it worked. Probably it took me about 20 minutes to get all this created in Chili Piper, which it used to be a lot longer before we had that functionality to add to campaign. That was one I begged for a couple of years. So we have it now. Anyways, from the booth, that's pre-booking. So now we're at the event. So yeah, we have some appointments set up with our reps, but people are going to be manning the booth. A lot of times it's somebody from marketing. A lot of times it's somebody from events. Maybe not always your sales rep. It may be, But let's just say you have somebody who you have a really good conversation with. You find out that they're evaluating solutions, that your tool would be one that they definitely need to evaluate for. And so, of course, you can scan a badge, send a, act now hot lead through Marketo, just have your rep follow up. Or why not just book a meeting with your sales rep for the next week? So what we do, there's a couple ways to go about doing this. And there's one way that our CEO, Nicholas, he's a wizard. I don't know how he does it, but I guess I'm too socially self-conscious to do it. But what some people do is they save a bookmark on their phone, which you just click on your iPhone or your Android device, and you can save your link on your phone. And so you're sitting there talking to somebody at the bar. You may not be on the floor. Say, hey, how about we schedule a meeting for next week? This has been really great. And you pass them your phone, tell them to pick a time, fill out the form. That's going to create a record in Salesforce and then flow through to Marketo and then create that event. So that's one way to do it if you're bringing your sales reps to the team. That's not specific to Chili Piper, by the way. If you use Calendly, or there's a couple other tools out there, that's just a good idea in general. If you have those sales reps who really go out there and they're not scared to ask those questions, hey, do you want to schedule a meeting with me afterwards? Giving them an easy way to do that instead of having to go to your laptop and pull up Outlook or Gmail, just speed through the process to make things efficient. But so what I also have here is like, this is what our sales team uses at Chili Piper. Let me see if I can get this to pull up. So we have this little test page that we use for our demos. And so what we're doing here is we're routing based off of, you basically have to use one of these two CRMs to get qualified to schedule a meeting with our reps. But then we also route based off of your different company size. Like for example, our enterprise reps get these guys up here, and then the SMB reps are down here, whereas mid-market's here. So what you'll notice here is that like I've attached some UTMs to the URL so that would go through the Marketo form. And then I can tell Marketo, I can use the same form, my same routing rules that I already use for my regular inbound forms. I can say, hey, all right, well, I want to make sure that I tag the campaign attribution to make sure I give credit to my event so that if this flows through my funnel and creates a cross-on opportunity, then I can attribute this back so that I can justify my event to my CMO or my CFO who's trying to say, why did we spend $300,000 on this booth at the Digital Summit Dallas 2022? You say, well, we spent $300,000, but look, we generated $700,000 in revenue. It's definitely worth it. But anyways, you guys probably know how UTMs work, but this is integrated within Chili Piper already. So again, what I can do here is fill out this form. I can do it on behalf of somebody, and you probably have this on like an incognito, so it's not caching people and making the Marketo cookie all think is confused. But I can book this meeting here, fill it out, have someone fill it out with a laptop or an iPad that you have sitting at your booth if they're interested, and then they can schedule a time for after the event. So again, the first link we were looking at was showing December times. Now this is showing times in August, where my sales team can decide, okay, I'm going to book a meeting 3:30 on a Friday. Sounds good to me. Then I booked with Anthony for a demo Friday once the event is over. And the reason I think this piece is a lot more interesting than a badge scan is because you get a lot of emails after an event. You get a lot of people trying to call you, a lot of people who you got badge scans for. This will allow you to be loud through the barrage of emails and communication you're getting because it's on your calendar. And as most of you guys probably work like me, as you're living and dying based off of your calendar appointments. And if you have those booked, it's going to be a lot easier to not ignore that person as compared to just an email or a phone call that you get post-event. So with that said, these post-event follow-up schedulings, that's booking at the event. Again, it's a really good way to get people engaged, get them on the hook while they're hot. But then post-event follow-ups, of course, you're going to not have everybody book a meeting. You're going to have some badge scans that didn't book. You're going to have some, maybe you get a list from the whoever was hosting the event. So you may add those to a campaign. And as you do this, you can use the same method of scheduling those meetings via Marketo email campaigns, maybe a landing page, through SalesLoft and outreach if you're engaging with those people that you've tagged as maybe more qualified or higher intent. Using those links, but in this case, I wouldn't be booking for the event, I'd be booking for after the event. But you can do the same type of attribution to give credit back to those events that you're doing. Again, this could also work for virtual events just as well. So a couple of little FAQs. There'll be more if you guys have them. I can probably bore you guys with a lot more details about the Chili Piper Marketo JavaScript integration, because I do that all day, every day, doing the onboarding for Chili Piper, because we get probably 30% of our clients are Marketo clients, probably another 30% HubSpot, another 30-ish% Pardot. Those are the main ones you guys probably know and aware of, but just a couple of little questions here, tracking campaigns and how long it takes to set things up. And that's all I got for now. And Michael's got some cool stuff as well. But if you guys have any questions, let me know. Again, you can make reports and everything, how many opportunities you got generated based off all this data coming in. So this is really what you want to see at the end of the day. It's not how many meetings did I book? Cool, I can see that for sure. I can see all those booked meetings at Dreamforce. But what I do want to see is the opportunities, and then I can tie that back to my campaign attribution in Salesforce and say, okay, well, we generated X amount of opportunities worth this much money, all based off this campaign. So
Nice. Thanks very much. Yeah, absolutely. That definitely ties into the experience that we want to talk about now, which is to walk through a case study and actually say, this is the solution that Chili Piper has, but then where does that become valuable? And really what we are looking at and what the point of this event is when we get back to real life, into real in-person events, right? What is that experience like? And for those of us who have stayed home for the past couple of years, it's easy to forget that we all had this short amount of time to be able to kind of connect with everybody, to be able to find within 2 or 3 days, who are the people that we want to connect with and who are the right people on our team, our field marketing team or our SDR team, to be able to move forward and build out those relationships. So we present to you a case study, and this is something that will happen in the future. We at Conversion Store are sending our team to Digital Summit Dallas at the end of the year. And so, just to use kind of an old kind of Golden Girls scenario from Sophia Petrillo, picture it, Dallas 2022. Right, we're heading out there for 2 days. It's only 2 days long. We're going to get together as a group and just regroup and get ready for 2023. But how do we make the most out of the limited time that we have at the event? And this fits into the benefits of Chili Piper, not just being able to set those appointments, but being able to compare the lead ownership of the people that you are booking those appointments with, and also things like, who are the hot leads? Who do you have existing prospects with? Who is further along in your revenue stage? Who's SQL? Who is beyond that if you have other stages that you're using? Who's the right fit? Who meets your ICP requirements? Who do you not have conversations with at the moment, but you really want to, and they just happen to be at the event? And even above and beyond that, who's not in your database at all that just happens to be at the event because they're going to visit a different group or they just like going to Digital Summit? And if you don't have them in your database to begin with, then how do you market to them? We'll show you a couple of tips on how to be able to do that, and be able to generate those bookings and literally synthesize them because you are at Digital Summit Dallas. So a little bit background on the event itself. Digital Summit is, if you're not familiar with it, is kind of a roaming series. They happen all over the place. I was at the Atlanta, Georgia version about 2 weeks ago. And so part of the inspiration for this was, just saying, well, you learn a lot from these events. They're kind of like Marketo Summit, but they're a lot smaller and they are regional. So they happen every couple of weeks in a different city across the US. And if you want more information, Dallas.digitalsummit.com or whatever city that you want to go to. And odds are there's one that's happening near your location, which makes it convenient to be able to head out to. And at Digital Summit, you will find all sorts of different types of speakers, much like you would at Adobe Summit or Marketo Summit. And some of the speakers themselves are people that might fit in with your ICP. So how do you target the right people that you want to be able to market to? Well, oftentimes you will see networking options that exist within these conferences where you can start to see, okay, these are some of the companies that we know are going to be present there. I think Adobe is a sponsor at this particular Digital Summit, and I know that they do bring a booth and they have different field teams talking about Marketo. at several different digital summits throughout the year. So this is definitely an audience that uses Marketo. So for a group like ours, who are Marketo implementers, Marketo consultants, that's definitely a good fit for us from an ICP point of view. And so, we look at these and kind of say, well, who do we want to meet with during this event? One of the things to note, if you look at the floor plan for a given trade show, is that there are a lot of opportunities, but there's also a lot of challenges. If all of these blue squares are different exhibitors at a different trade show, trying to get them to go to your booth is a challenge, especially when you consider that they have to pass through all of these other different booths, some of whom might be direct competitors, some of whom might be indirect competitors, but all of them competing for the attention of these people over a shortened period of time. So it becomes even more important for you to be able to try and identify who the right people are and come to them with a certain value proposition or a call to action to really incentivize them to want to meet with your group. And this is where Marketo comes into play. Being able to have these people in your database and being able to send out targeted communications to the people that you've already identified becomes crucial in this spot as being a differentiator between you and another booth that might be just counting on traffic, on foot traffic, on people hoping that they walk by and be able to say, oh, I do business with that particular company, I should go in and meet them. Why wait or risk that that person might be in the right hand side of the trade show floor and not see your booth on the left hand side of the trade show floor? Send them a Marketo, an email, send them out an outbound call, send them out a text message if you have an SMS provider hooked into your Marketo instance. Or something that you might consider doing if they're not in your database altogether, sorry, as they get into your to start interacting with you, you have an event program where you can be able to track their statuses and send out different interesting moments so that your sales team can see this in their CRM and say, okay, great, we know that the person that we want to be able to meet is responding to this and this and this message. So how do you target leads that are not in your database and then currently happen to be at the show? And so one of the things that we've seen historically is that if you're the organizer of the show, you can do things like put in beacon tracking or use geofencing around some of the different properties to try and give a little bit of geographic data to be able to try and track people from a target audience. But let's say that you don't even have that. You do have paid social accounts and you do have the ability to do some geo tracking with that. So just to say, if you're doing over the top advertising or you're working in programmatic, a lot of those groups have this geofencing, geo targeting capabilities. But again, if you're not making a spend with one of those groups, you could always use Facebook Ad Manager. And in Facebook Ad Manager, for example, we just built out an audience and basically said, okay, we know that the conference is going to be at the Irving Convention Center in Dallas, Texas, and we'll pick a location that's roughly a mile wide. Now, we also can build other mile wide circles around this if we want to drill in even further. We're leaving it at a mile because a lot of the hotels that you see around the convention center where most of your audience will be staying are also in this location. But if we wanted to drill in specifically for the trade show itself, all you have to do is put in exclusion audiences that are around the trade show and be able to drill in even tighter to the actual convention center itself. And once you do that, you have the ability to be able to run all sorts of different display advertising to them, or lookalike ads as well too, for people that just happen to be passing through. And odds are they've got the Facebook app already on their phone. If you talk to people that are working in programmatic advertising, a lot of them will tell you that they get their data from a lot of the weather app providers. So I think if you have AccuWeather on your phone, a lot of those apps also have relationships with different online advertising venues that allow you to be able to grab that information, because if you're looking to grab the weather on your phone, you have to provide the location that your phone is located in so that they give you the right place to be able to look at that. If you want more information on this, we have built in a actual session with Conversion Store talking about how you can tie in Marketo for weather related information if you want to be able to personalize your accounts by weather conditions in local marketplaces too. So there's a lot that you can do with this type of data. But one of the things that you can do, speaking to this booking imperative, it allows you to be able to reach people who are not in your database and give them an offer and say, to what Gaines was talking about earlier, come to this booth. We're giving away something. We're doing a promotion. We're showing a demo. Or if you have an existing a relationship with a field rep that is at that booth, you could personalize it to that person and send them another message once they visit the landing page, right? And put in a query string that basically to what Gaines was talking about, that basically pre-populates a Marketo form and allows you to grab even more insights for the booking that gets booked through Chili Piper. So what does this mean from a Marketo side of things? Well, the form is just going to be a Marketo form, so you can easily use a triggered filled out form trigger. If you want to go a different route and let's say capture the lead information directly from Facebook because they have their own lead capture sources that you can bring in through Marketo AdBridge. Sometimes that gives you a bigger lift. There's a higher cost to that, but it certainly gives you the ability to be able to create this smart campaign, quickly create a trigger. And really all that's needed from the Marketo side of things is to be able to have a sync to SFTC flow step so that once the record is in Salesforce, Chili Piper can match to that and then provide the appropriate booking information in much the same way that Gaines's flow chart I was demonstrating a little bit earlier on. And above and beyond that, to our point about, well, there are going to be specific key contacts that you have there. So setting up a meeting with them is just a matter of being able to say, they're a member of the program. We can already track whether they've registered if we've been doing marketing communications to them in advance of the show. We can do things like tie in revenue stages. We can tie in opportunities and stages that are syncing back from Salesforce about your sales stage opportunities within opportunities. Or if you use ABM and you have formally laid out what your key accounts are, you could always put in another filter in here that allows you to be able to target people who are key accounts who are also registered. So there's a couple of different ways to be able to target them. But again, it's the same thing. You're really just putting in that flow step about sync to SFTC. And as long as you have the right JavaScript on the landing page that you're using for your form capture, then this integration becomes just seamless for you to be able to tie these people together and to be able to get in front of some of your key accounts and close some real deals that lead to some serious ROI for your participation in these online events. The other thing that's available here too to consider is that check-in apps, right? Marketo has a check-in app. We have a Marketo Minutes episode that actually shows a live demo of the check-in app so that you can actually see how it works. Or you could use another third-party app to be able to grab in information and put that into your Marketo platform as well too. And so great way to be able to capture lead information, send that over to Salesforce, and then do a follow-up email immediately to be able to say, let's book a meeting. You know, you're at the show, we're at the show. Why don't we get together while we're both at the show and be able to talk a little shop? So there's a variety of different ways to do it. I think the important thing to keep in mind here, as we're all thinking about going back to in-person events, there is no one way to skin a cat. You can engage at shows in a variety of different ways. Some people go to breakout sessions. Some people do their best work in one-to-one demonstrations and meetings with different vendors. Other people like to go to these mass sessions that you see, the keynote speaking sessions. And all of those are opportunities to be able to capture engagement and to be able to move to the next level in the customer journey with a given visitor, a given attendee at a specific period of time. So this is one way to be able to add that extra level of engagement as you're participating and going back to these in-person and hybrid sessions. What ways work best for you for the target audiences that you work in? What's the right way that people prefer to buy in the verticals that you operate in? what sort of target audience personas are you speaking to? And how do they prefer to interact with you in the different areas of your business? Think about all these things the next time that you're building out your in-person event, and consider some of the different options that we've talked about today. If you need help with any of these, you're feel free to be able to reach out to your fellow users to join one of these Marketo Learning Lounge events that we have, or speak to us directly, speak to Chili Piper directly, and we're here to answer any questions you have. We're going to go off camera and off recording now. So for those of you watching this on YouTube, we invite you to join us on marketominutes.com and to subscribe to receive more videos about other ways that you can learn Marketo and use that in your instance. Our next Marketo User Group session will be on October 13th. So we're going to run these quarterly, but every month we'll be doing these learning lounges, usually around the second or third week of the month on a Friday, so that at the end of your day, as you're kind of planning out your calendars, you have that time to be able to stop in and ask questions about something that you might not know. So
Michael, before you end the recording, we did have a question that came in on chat. Would you like to answer that now?
as long as they're okay on being recorded. So we might go off recording if it's something that's a little bit more personal.
It's just they ask, can we test sign-up forms in the sandbox environment? And it looks like the person's already jumped off the call.
Yeah, I was about to reply to it, but noticed they weren't here anymore. But yes, of course, we would never, every onboarding we do for any client, it's like, make sure you make a test page or a sandbox page before we plug into your production hand raiser forms, because there's way too much risk in a bad setting or a misconfiguration that would impact your probably one of your most valuable digital assets that exists. So yes, of course.